Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Caribbean Heritage Television. Today we'll be continuing our interviews with women in the community who are making a significant impact, but they're not often heard of on mainstream television. But we count it a privilege today that we get an opportunity on our show to interview someone who is indeed making a difference in our community and impacting the lives of both children and adults at hand. With us today is someone who is a missionary. She is an entrepreneur at heart. She certainly loves the Lord, and she loves children. I'm going to ask her to begin today by telling us a little bit about her background, where she's from, and maybe a little bit about her family and what she's doing today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to our show Miss Arlene King.
Oh, thank you, Damien. As Damien said, my name is Arlene King. I am a native of Guyana. I came to America some 35 years ago, and I am a teacher, as he said, a chaplain, a missionary, a school teacher, a lot of things. But my desire is to empower people, not just women and children, wherever I can find an opportunity to assist a person in fulfilling or reaching their full potential. That is my heart's desire, by God's grace.
Bless God, bless God. Miss King, I'm familiar with the fact that you're an entrepreneur at heart, and you've chose to focus on children, to get that or to birth that vision that you had inside. Tell us a little bit about how you got started with that. I know you were a teacher, and now today you've been running a successful daycare for a number of years. Tell us about how you got started with that.
Okay, as a child, I always wanted to be a teacher. Always wanted to be a teacher. But as I was growing up, I became a little out of hand, as you would say. And I had to be taken out of school at an early age, and I started working. But I still had that desire to be a teacher. And I came to this country and ended up finding myself working in somebody's home, cleaning their house. And one day the Lord said to me, "The teaching job you always wanted, I'm going to give it to you." And I looked up and I'm like, "Really?" And he said, "Yes." And so that was July of 1990. And September, I got dressed and I went for my job. I didn't know where, but I went out looking for a job. And I got this teaching job, and I began to work. And so my passion was fulfilled, and after 14 years, well, about 10 years or so, I started going to college. And in doing so, I ended up with my degree in general education. And after that, I felt the need to quit my job because I wanted to do full-time ministry. But the Lord had me do a daycare before I got into ministry. So I started the daycare. Timidly, I did. And it was rough. But thank God it's now 10 years, going on 11, and daycare is running, and I know you're reaping some benefits from that daycare.
Yes. For those of you who might not know, I am blessed with 3 beautiful girls, 5, 4, and 2. And, from the time they were toddlers, they had the privilege of being a part of Miss King's, daycare. So certainly I've seen significant growth in them, and I could attest to the fact that she has been doing some significant things in the lives of children, bringing inspiration to many parents. We're talking about parents and we're talking about children. Tell us a little bit about your family. I know you're married. I know you have, several children yourself. Tell us.
Yes, I am married to my teenage sweetheart. It's now 45 years since we've been together.
Wow.
We have 5 daughters, and from those 5 daughters, we have 9 grandchildren.
Wow.
5 girls and 4 boys. So our quiver is full.
Wow.
I came from a family of 9. I am the oldest child, and I enjoy motherhood, I must say. I've been a mother to my siblings, and then I became a mother to my children, and now I'm mothering my parents. Because I have a father who's blind, and my mother, and they're both seniors, and they live with me. So that's my family.
Wow. Since we are on the subject of family, we hear a phone ring in the background, and I'm quite sure being an entrepreneur, that's how it is for you at times, But when we talk about family and we talk about running a business and all the extracurricular activities that you find yourself involved in, how are you able to balance, or what do you do to try to maintain some type of equilibrium when it comes to family and business and church and everything else?
One of the things I had to do is make a schedule and create a schedule from 5 o'clock in the morning until way after midnight when I find myself going to bed. I have to choose what I'm going to do when, because like I said, I still have my parents, so it's not just my family with my husband, but I have my parents and I have to fit them into my schedule. It's difficult, but I thank God for the privilege. I am also the dean of our church's Bible school, and like that, it can be very difficult from time to time. But when you're determined to do a thing, it's nothing like determination. You're determined to fulfill God's goal, God's desires, and I get satisfaction from what I do. I am happy because I'm investing in the lives of other people, and that makes them happy, so that makes me happy.
We're talking about investing in the lives of other people, and one of the things that is essential, for success today is someone mentoring you, having someone to inspire you. When you look back at your life and where you are today, and you look at where God brought you from, and the fact that we're heading closer towards Mother's Day, I'm quite sure your mom had a role to play in raising you to be the virtuous woman that you are today, and also being involved in business. It's one thing to have a gift, but it's another thing to be able to administrate and do the things that it relates to business. Who would you say perhaps are one or two of the individuals? Talk a little bit about your mom first, because I'm quite sure your mom had some role in you being not only here on earth, but some type of impartation, and then who's mentored you from a business perspective or some other area in life.
Honestly speaking, God played the most important role in my life, because the things I would dare to do, and it's nothing against my mom, but my mom is afraid to do. The things I would dare to do, even my peers are afraid to do. When I said I was leaving my job, everybody was wondering, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. But I was leaving the job, and I left. And God is who caused me to leave, and God is who carried me right through. As a teacher, I always wanted to be a teacher because I had a very good teacher. I had a teacher, one Cheryl Jarvis, and she was an awesome teacher. She wore her long skirts and her nice clothing, and I just wanted to look like that, you know. I just wanted to look nice, and I wanted to teach the children. And so she was a mentor. She was the person who caused me to want to become a teacher. To become a minister, I loved God, and I just wanted to impart. Whatever I learned, I felt it was my responsibility to impart that to others. I would say for my business, I would think my former boss, Jenny Whitney, she was very inspirational to me becoming a teacher, an administrator. She was a good administrator. I admired her. My mom was a godly woman at the point when she accepted Christ, and she just, even when she wasn't going to church, she insisted on us going to church. She sent us to church. She made sure we went to church. And so like that, I had a spiritual upbringing. At 11, I accepted Christ. And for me, with God in your life, he just propels me. You know, people think I'm crazy sometimes because the things I would venture out to do, and I don't even think about it. I just do it. And so for me, I can't say, well, anyone sat me down and took me through whatever. I remember this one lady who talked with me, Rihanna's grandmother, Dolly Braffett. She was an older woman in the village, and she...
Rihanna, the famous singer?
The famous singer, yes.
Okay.
Her grandmother.
All right.
She was my mother's friend, and she attended our church. And she saw where my mother, as a young mother, was having a lot of difficulties with me. And that's a very tender thing. It always makes me want to cry. When I think of this lady taking her time to take me in her bedroom and sit me down on her bed and tell me about womanhood and let me know that the battle I'm facing, it's not mine, it's the Lord's. And I feel that is one of the things I want to do with women. Sit women down, sit girls down, and talk with them and let them know that there is a lot for you to achieve in life, but you have to watch what you do, how you do, you know?
Okay, well, just before we, go on our break, I would like for you to, continue in that subject, when we talk about women and empowering women, because when we look at the music today and we look at, oftentimes the way a woman might carry herself, a lot of it has to do with how she values herself. So as soon as we return from a break, I'd like to elaborate a little bit more on that. Ladies and gentlemen, audience, I trust that you are enjoying this interview. We will be right back. Welcome once again to Caribbean Heritage Television, and we are continuing our interview with Miss Arlene King, a woman who has been making a significant difference within this community. And we left off where she mentioned her desire to mentor women. Obviously, mentorship is a process, and obviously it starts with relationship to be able to speak into the lives of individuals and women. What are you doing, by way of being able to reach out to women and to make a difference in their life? What are you doing?
I am doing the thing that caused me a lot of trouble in school as a child. My report card always said talkative. I talk a lot. I do not waste a moment to talk to a woman, to talk to an individual. If I'm coming down the street and I see you, I try my best to make it my business to talk to you, to say something. And I start conversations, and as the Lord would lead me, I would just say things that may stun a woman at some point. Well, how did you know that, or why did you say that? And the conversation would just go. I like to tell people about myself, because I think when people get to know who you are and they get to see where you came from, they tend to become more relaxed and they can open up to you. I see with you mentioned dressing, how women dress. I remember when I was dating who's my husband now, I see he went out with girls who wore their halter back and whatever. And so I decided one time we were going out, and I decided to make me a halter top and my shorts, and he came to pick me up. And I'm saying this to show you how men think. And he came to pick me up, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay. When you finish getting dressed, I'll come back and get you." And I couldn't understand. He go out with girls who dress like this, so what's the problem? But then when a man really wants a woman, he looks for a good woman. He looks for a woman who carries herself nicely. It's been 45 years since I'm with that husband, that boyfriend. And he's been around with a lot of girls. But because of my standard, the way I carried myself, the way I conduct myself, and I think one of the things, he is not walking with the Lord presently, but one of the things I think he admired is the way I serve God. Your value is not in how much of what you can show out. Your value is who you are inside. And if you're beautiful inside, it's not what you wear on the outside that will attract people to you. And that's what I want to get over to women. You're beautiful on the inside. You're valuable to God. There's a psalm that says, "You're fearfully and wonderfully made." God has made you that way. And because he has made you that way, you don't have to expose yourself to show your beauty. Your beauty is inside.
There are two things, I want you to touch a little bit on. One of them is, in order for you to make a impact in the future, it's important that you're able to record your history, to be able to, encapsulate the lessons that you've learned over time, so that years from now, perhaps when we're not even around,
Right.
individuals could look back and say, well, this was a great woman, or this was a great individual. I know have you ever thought of writing or anything along that lines to capture these years of experience?
Writing was a fearful thing for me. Writing was a fearful thing. But I've come to the place, every 10 years in my life, I've been looking at, from a child, from the age of 10. And I've been looking at significant things that have happened in my life, which I wouldn't really discuss here. But I began to look, and my question is always, where do I go from here? And everybody would always say, for all this and for all that, you should write. And I was very afraid of writing. But when I became 60, I turned 60 July of last year.
Wow.
And approaching 60, I realized, I asked the question, where do I go from here? And I realized I have to write. And I began writing. So I wrote the book. I'm writing. I'm not finished. I'm writing the book. Where do I go from here?
Wow.
And where do I go from here tells somewhat about me, small bit about me. And I tried to.
So in other words, you're saying you plan to have a sequel?
Yes.
Okay.
Because there are lots of things that I cannot write in that book, there are lots of things. That's why I'm doing seminars and all those things, because it's not everything you can write, and not every time you will remember the things you need for a person to hear. And so I'm writing that book, Where Do I Go From Here? And the follow-up book to that is I Am Determined.
All right. All right.
So I am writing. It was a fear, but I overcome.
Sounds like a bestseller already. You know, as we break for our final segment, when we return, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the empowerment conference that you have, coming up, because obviously another way to impact people, is through conferences and sessions where individuals can have a moment to be inspired, to be encouraged, and to reflect. When we return, I trust that you're enjoying this interview as much as I am. And when we return, and to wrap up our interview, we'll hear a little bit more about the conference that Ms. King and her team has planned to inspire women. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back to Caribbean Heritage Television. We're here right now for a final segment. We have certainly learned a lot more about this woman who has been impacting lives for years. I mean, she's been married for 45 years. That's a lot of years of experience. She has 5 children and has, through her daycare, been able to reach hundreds. Tell us a little bit about the conference, what you hope to accomplish, and maybe about some of the speakers that are going to be at the conference.
Well, we're having 4 awesome women. We're having Dr. Sherry Hamilton. We're having Pastor Joan Miller, Pastor Leonie Hall, and Pastor Maxine Bradford. Those 4 women are women that I look at, I've admired, and I know what they have to offer. I will not be personally speaking in this conference, but I know that these women have so much. The theme of the conference is Discovering the Jewel in You. And the first session will be I Know Who I Am. Before you can discover anything, before you can do anything with yourself, you must know who you are. And the next thing you need to do is know where you are. You know who you are and where you are. And then you want to break out from wherever you are that you don't belong. And that's what the conference is about. I've decided to do conferences. I've done a few conferences before because I was once the president of an international, interdenominational women's group called AGLOW. But things have been not going well in basically the New York area, and we broke off. In 2004, the Lord gave me the vision for a ministry and the name for this ministry, Knowing God. And so I kept it. I printed the cards and everything, but I kept it because it wasn't the time to release. And now that we broke off from AGLOW, we have incorporated Knowing God, and we're flying with that. So this is our first conference in Knowing God. I've done domestic violence conferences and all kinds of different conferences, raising the young child.
Well, Ms. King, certainly it was a privilege having you on our show today. Certainly from your wealth of experience, you have a lot to offer, and I'm quite sure when we're dealing with another show, perhaps when it comes to dealing with children specifically, or marriage, or women we certainly would love to have you back. As we wrap up, we're moving head on into Mother's Day, and certainly if it wasn't for the hand that rocked the cradle, none of us would have had the privilege of existing on the earth. There are women at various stages in their life. Some are on top of the world, but then there might be others who at this time might find themselves discouraged, maybe as a single parent, discouraged with the economics, discouraged with the fact that life seemed hopeless. You talk about the conference team, discovering the jewel within you. To those women, as we think about Mother's Day coming up and we think about these women, what word of encouragement would you give to these women as we wrap up, to inspire them to not give up hope, but to press forward?
That's the last line I wrote in my book today. Trusting God. Trusting God. And you may say, well, I don't know God. But God knows you. And Proverbs said, in all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. And so often we think that we have to go to church, we have to be in church, we have to be all holy and whatever to trust God. And that is not so. God wants you to acknowledge Him. And when you acknowledge Him, He will do the rest. Just acknowledge Him. Just look to Him. Call upon Him. He said if you call upon Him in the day of trouble, He will answer you. And He has done that for me. Sometime again when we meet, I'll be able to tell you more. God bless you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, Miss Arlene King. Join us on our Facebook page, and we have a powerful show, our event coming up at the Bridge Project on May 8th. And you could check us out on our Facebook page and get more information on that. You can reach us at 718-809-2230 for more information and about tickets. We have a contest that we're running for mothers, either someone of their children writing about the impact their mother has had, or the mother